Alrighty, everybody. Hello there, and welcome back to the GameDay Squad Women's Aussie Rules live show. We're here today to talk about the round that is about to be. That is going to be round 5, and I'm here with good friend and co-host in Bales. Bales, mate, it's time. It's that time of the week again. It's time to rip in and get stuck in, eh?
Oh, yeah, mate. We didn't even get to chat before we went live. Bloody moving house tomorrow. So been really busy with that, getting all that sort of stuff done. And at least we're moving on a Friday and we're not moving on the Saturday, which is grand final day. So men's grand final, still got AFLW every week, which is great. I think there's still only 2 days over the next 3 weeks where we don't have AFLW, which is Mondays, which is pretty good. So look, plenty more football still to come, and looking forward to another weekend of footy.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, the grand final on the weekend. My beloved Swannies are going to be hopefully bringing it home, but it's going to be a good matchup.
What's your feeling? Because just before we get into it, because I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be good grand final with Sydney coming off a bad loss in 2022 to Geelong, and then Brisbane losing pretty close last year. So it's like both are sort of, one's going to get redemption and one's not. So how are you feeling heading into the grand final?
I'm very nervous. The Lions are a very good team, that's for sure. We are also a very good team, though. So it's going to be a great matchup, in my opinion. My only concern, I guess, for us is that I feel like if we come out and play our best footy, we'll win. But I have major concerns at times of us coming out and playing our best footy. We can be a bit of a roller coaster of a team, and you just don't know what you're going to see come that first quarter on our Saturday. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Swannies will get it done, but I think it'll be a good grand final. Looking forward to 2 non-Victorian teams in it. As a South Australian, it's a good stat. Hasn't happened since 2006. So looking forward to it, even though Fitzroy, South Melbourne connections, but still. But let's get an AFLW, hey?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. If anyone's watching along, let us know who you think is going to take it out on the weekend. But as Bales alluded to, we're going to rip into this round. And what we're firstly going to do is talk about some of our top coaches. And firstly, we've got our starter and classic competitions here. Bales, we can see some familiar faces, but we want to give an extra shout out to Do Panic Trade for our starter competition for winning it with a very good score. And then, of course, Tash in our classic. But just underneath Tash, Bales, you're right there. Tash had you by a couple of points, so made a couple better decisions, but nonetheless, a great round from Tash and a great round from you, mate.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, that's back-to-back second place finishes in the classic comp, which it's on one hand, I'm happy. I'm like, yep, top 2, we're going well. We're pushing for that top sort of 5, 10 prize card all-star sort of prize at the end of the year. But then you probably feel it as well, that frustration of not taking out just first spot for a week, because I've never done it before. I've never finished first in any sort of GameDay Squad comp or anything like that. I've got second and third in a few different comps, but haven't quite been able to get that first one. So hopefully at some point we can get that number 1 spot. But no, we've had a pretty good start to here. But, mate, you're not too far behind. I see you there, the lucky number 7.
Yes, of course. I think my big thing, and I know you've been saying it a lot, is I just want to get in the top 5 for that seasonal rank by the end of the year. So I feel like I'm trending in the right direction. You're definitely trending in the right direction for that. But let's talk about
still plenty of the season to go. So I'm still sort of trying to keep a lid on it and trying to just plug away week by week, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly right. And, we're about to be only just halfway, so plenty more decisions to make. But BMO and Gracie's in our Challenger and Champion competitions are best coaches for the round. Congratulations. Some monster scores there, let's be honest. So
Fez got done great decisions. I can feel Fez's pain there. No, second in 2 separate comps.
Second and second. Skips there with the double. Some great performances, some coaches and some all-arounders for sure. And even BMO coming 8th in the champion. So well down to all of our coaches. And Bales, let's take a moment here. The rounds for our game are currently working a little differently. We've already had 2 games and, we're here about to do our preview shows. So why don't you, Bales, give us a little preview into some of the players that you have already started and some of their performances for your squad.
Well, I can see 3 certain players on the screen there, and I've got all 3 in my side already, which has been great. So I'll sort of just go through sort of line by line who I've had play. So Silva Emma Carney went well enough last night. I'm expecting her to go better in the Richmond game with the ball. I expect to be in the defence a little bit more than the game last night, but Carney was still pretty solid. I'll still take her score from that. But the good thing about these double game weeks is that people might not put a heap of them in because they're like, oh, they only play once. And it's a bit of it's like a sort of game of chess. It's like last week, if you put some double game week plays in, like a Bree Davey, for example, or a Jess Hosking. Jess Hosking, great. You got a good score from the one game. But Bree Davey got injured and didn't play a second game. So putting in the players that play 2 games is a little bit risky in a way because you think, oh, I'm going to get one of 2 scores. It's going to be a good score. But if they get injured in one game, you're not going to get them in the second game. So, so we had, Emma Carney already play. Then we had Mon Conti on my bench, who was solid enough there. Hopefully she does what a few of the Carlton mids did to North last night and goes well. Gold Ash Riddell and Platinum Jazz Garner. Gold Ash Riddell was amazing, was everywhere. Platinum Jazz Garner, though, a bit quiet, got rested in the last quarter, played purely forward and then set off the final 6 or 7 minutes. So I'm expecting her to play. I'm expecting her to play the full game against Richmond on the weekend. It'll be a close game, I think. So I think she'll go well in that game. Matilda Schultz was the big pod, who I thought had 2 games. Had Richmond the first game, which is a great matchup this year for Rucks, and she came through with a really, really good score. So very happy with that. Along with Gemma Houghton, who I had as another pod on my bench, who went really well, and then also had Katie Brennan, Alice O'Loughlin, who did pretty solid in their game. So. Pretty happy with every player so far. There hasn't really been a dud, so touch wood that we can keep going.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Pretty good little wrap up there. For me, I didn't start as many players as yourself. Didn't get Scholes in there. That was a great pick from you. But Sheeran, I played a Silver Conti, so pretty happy with those. Conti, a little disappointing. Only the 106 as a midfielder, so, you
want
could have been a little bit better.
You want that 115, 120, I reckon.
Yeah, that 120 is probably the mark where you're like, beautiful. We'll take that.
Yeah.
Good performance. Katie Brennan, though, 77 fantasy points as a forward. Definitely taking that. And I had a gold Riddell in, which is currently had 158 in the game, but 190 with that multiplier, just like yourself, Bales.
Yeah.
And then I've got an all-star Garner. So pretty similar to your Platinum. I know that you started. But yeah, hoping that in the second matchup with that second chance, we can get a little bit more out of her because that would be lovely. But let's get into Bales to our round or game by game analysis, starting with the game tonight. We have the Geelong Cats versus Hawthorn, and we are thinking very alike, other than one player. So why don't you talk about the 2 players we have that are alike, and I might talk about the pod just after you.
Yeah. So to Lucas Rod. Not much else to say about them. They're a very good player and they're top of the defender rankings for the season. So I think they're just a lineup lock each week. And I think Beck Webster's a little bit the same as well. I think that we've seen that she's been a very consistent player of the last few weeks. And I know that Hawthorn mid-range matchup for defenders. I still think Beck Webster's fine. So I think both are very good picks. But Greta Bodie, mate, had a good game last week, 6 goals. Kicked the last 3 goals of the game as well. And I see Geelong are a decent matchup for forwards. So why have you put Greta Bodie? Is it because of the matchup?
Yeah, for sure. But in all honesty, it's a little bit of not knowing who else to put in there. I've had a couple of players that have been in my mind. Some with injuries right now, of course, with the obvious Too Good. I know I was really high on someone like Sheriff. Ty's now out. So we've got some real, what I would call premium options for forwards out. So Bodie definitely in good form. The matchup did have a lot of consideration into this. Probably wouldn't start her on a normal week, but only trying to roll out with a bronze. I tried to sort of minimize my salary cap with this just in case it was a miss. But look, she is one of those players that can kick goals, but also gets quite a lot of touches with the footy, can kick the ball a lot. And in this game, it's just so important. So, a goal or 2 on the weekend against Geelong and some involvement there with moving the ball. And we'll see that being a really good decision for me. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But Bales, I actually wanted to quickly just sidetrack for a second here. We've had a brand new feature brought onto GameDay Squad. So if anyone is playing GameDay Squad at the moment, you'll notice that on your dashboard, normally you would see this. I'm just going to refresh to make sure it's all working. But we have a new little section down here. It's also available on our mobile game. And what it is you can have a look at all the players and their stat totals, total score, average, their kicks marked, etc., etc. This is the first volume of this stat center. We do have more to come with this, which we're super excited about. But it's a really good chance to look up, some players like Bodie. How did she go in Game Day Squad? You can see there. She's had a pretty good score. She averages 80, of course, had one of the higher performances with all those goals. So if you are wanting to have a look at some of the stats and get across it, you now can do that all there in our stats center.
Love it.
Alrighty, Bales. Let's get into game 2. This is going to be the Collingwood Magpies versus the Gold Coast Suns tomorrow. And we thought exactly alike for this one. We have the two Suns rolling out. Charlie Rowbottom is Charlie Rowbottom. So, we don't have to touch too much on her. Look, maybe last week had a disappointing performance for her standard, but she was really involved, just was around it a lot, just wasn't really scoring as many fantasy points as you traditionally are used to. But, she was so dominant in the matchup, and the eye test was definitely passed. I think it's just a little bit of an off week, at least by her standards, but I have no concerns with starting her.
Yeah, and it was off week by Gold Coast as well. Like, they got smashed by Geelong.
Of course, exactly.
Gold Coast and Geelong, funny enough, have been the two sides this year where I do tips and stuff on the side for the AFLW, and I just haven't gotten a read on either. Like, Gold Coast, one week will look really good. Next week they draw, then they lose badly to Geelong. Like, they've got Collingwood this week. You'd expect them to win, but they've been very up and down. And then Geelong have been the same as well. Like, Geelong lose badly to, I can't remember who they lost. Oh, Carlton. They lost badly to Carlton. Then they go and smash Gold Coast. So, like, are they going to beat Hawthorn tonight, or are Hawthorn going to continue playing well? So it's just a few teams like that. But yeah, and with Rowbottom, just quickly as well, people probably see there the mids matchup is sort of mid-table. I wouldn't be worrying too much about that. Collingwood have got no Bree Davey, no Britt Benici. They've got injuries everywhere. I just expect I could see Rowbottom potentially being the top scoring player for the weekend. For the single game. So obviously if you want to go to the Discord comp and put your top scoring player for the round, then I'd be maybe saying Rowbottom would be a pretty good bet, and that's who I'd probably be picking this week.
Nice.
There, but Daisy Darcy as well, getting it done every week. Like last week, like I said on our podcast on Sunday night, I think she just must be made of steel or something. Like round 1, she does it like elbow injury. It looked like it was like, I don't know if it was a dislocated or broken or something. It looked bad. She came back on, laid attack within 5 seconds, and then this game went off with a knee injury, and we thought, oh, okay, that could be bad. Comes back on and scores really well. Kicks a goal, has a really good strong quarter, final quarter, and gets herself to like I think a 90 odd in the end, or around that mark. So yeah, I just think she's just a player I think we need to put in just because of her scoring capabilities each week.
Yeah, just as you mentioned, spent some time on the bench sorting out that injury, and then came back on and just dominated. So yeah, she's just been fantastic all year. How about one thing outside of fantasy in this matchup? Neither of these teams have a win for the season. The Suns have had a draw, no wins, and Collingwood haven't got any wins or a draw at all. So unless there's another draw, someone will be walking away with the 4 points and coming off the bottom of the ladder. So
I'd expect Gold Coast to get it done. Like Collingwood did lose the Dogs last week, which we were sort of thinking, well, the Dogs going to get a win? So, but the one player I did want to actually just quickly chat before we get into the next game that we don't have in our lineup, and we can see that the ruck matchup against them is very bad. Gold Coast is the second hardest team for rucks. It's Sabrina Frederick.
Yep.
So you're just along the thinking of just a bad matchup, and she didn't score too great either last week.
Look.
Well, in the first game she did.
She started off the season really, really well, right? We saw her go 138 fantasy points in round 1, thinking, wow, she could finish as maybe one of the top 2 rucks for the season. But Mim Strong as well had a fantastic round. I think she had 144. The thing is, since then, 108, which is a great score. But if you take out round 2, let's go from round 3 onwards. And there was double games, of course, last round for Collingwood. It's been 45, 53, and 99. So hasn't really got that same sort of upside. And of course, the matchup, as you mentioned, isn't that great as well. So a couple of factors for me. It's definitely form. It's definitely matchup. And, I've looked elsewhere for this round. You went Scholes. We already know that. So we know the other pod ruck that you went, unless you didn't start strong. But for me,
start strong, yeah.
I'll release that. I'll tell you all later when we get to that game. But I've looked elsewhere. I thought there's more upside in that matchup. And for such a fantastic season she's having, with an average of 88, both of us are benching her this round.
Yep, yeah, it's Yeah, it's she started well, but as you said, just been a bit quiet. I think that fact that Collingwood are struggling as well is probably also a bit of a factor there. So yeah, just for the time being, just with the harder matchup as well, I think it's better to go a different option this week.
Absolutely, mate. I reckon we'll move it on to game 3. We have Essendon versus the Demons, and
There's your pod ruck.
there's the pod ruck. So I backed her in last week, and look, you said not a good matchup for the play the Crows, and I understood that, but I've really, really liked Wales this
What did she
season
score
this
last
year.
week?
I'm going to get that up now for you, but she scored 83 fantasy points in one of, let's call them, the worst ruck matchups in the competition in the Crows. So,
Good
I'm
matchup here,
looking
though.
at this, the green matchup here, the season that she's having. I'm really, really excited. She's got an average of 95 fantasy points, and this is one of the better matchups to have. I think this week could be the week she explodes. I think I should have listened to you last week in terms of the matchup, Bales.
If you
Not that it's bad.
put the other Wales, Lucy Wales, that would have been the pick last week because she was massive last week.
Yeah, she cracked the ton last week, so she was really good. But yeah, for this week, Stephanie Wales is my starter, and I think she could go nuts in this one. So I'm hoping for a big performance and a bit of a pod ruck, let's call it, and maybe one of the reasons I finish higher up this round.
Yeah, no, I like it. And then
We will have to wait and see. But Kate Hall, mate, she's just been killer this season. She's so good, playing more time in the midfield as we anticipated. She's getting the CBA, still can finish in front of goals. She's just doing a bit of everything. And a must start, don't you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Yep, F1, just lock her in your lineup each week, and Eston's a pretty good matchup for mids and forwards, regardless of where she plays. So, and if you want a bit of a pod this week, I think that Maddie Prasparkas could put up a ceiling score. We haven't seen a ceiling score from her yet this year.
Yeah, we truly haven't, hey?
But with the Bombers, with the Bombers, with the Demons, with a lot of injuries, with a few of their mids not playing, I think that Maddie Prasparkas could have a big game here. So I've actually got a platinum of her in my challenger side this week.
Nice.
I know I put in a champion because I just put the champion. My champion squad is normally just the leftover good cards I've got, whereas challengers like the better of the high end cards I've been able to pack. So I put Maddie Prasparkas in that, so to just give a bit of context of where I think she could go this week. So I thought about her in Classic as well on the bench, but I just thought with Monconti playing 2 games this week, I just thought it's better to put her in. But I think Maddie Prasparkas has got 2 games next week, so we might be potentially seeing her in my Classic side next week. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about someone that we haven't started. And I was really big on this player earlier this preseason. It is Eden Zanker. And, I had her as sort of...
she's out.
She's
sure.
out, but it's just been a little disappointing not being able to rely on someone like her, get her into the squad for this season and just probably not having the year. I know Harris as well, Bales. You were
Harris
in the preseason, so
I think the fact that Harris has been out has meant that Zanker's been hasn't been as good. I think with Taylor Harris in there, if she's playing forward, they've got the 2 of them down there, dual threat forward line. They probably both score pretty well. But the fact that one's missing means Eden Zanker's getting all the attention because Kate Hall is playing more at the ground. And then it sort of means that you don't get Harris's score, but then also Zanker's scores is suffering because she's the only player down there. So I just think Melbourne
affected as well. Yep.
Yeah, just Melbourne, unfortunately, just got a couple of key injuries that just haven't been great for them, unfortunately.
Yeah, 100%. It's been one of those seasons for them. But, mate, I reckon we'll move it on to game 4. Let's go. St Kilda versus Freo. The way to go. And Strom is the way to go for both of us. But Wardlaw, mate, it's a couple rounds now where I've
Keep doing it.
I've stuck with Wardlaw. I've been putting her into my squad, and for very good reason.
She's been good.
Give me some insight, Bales. Are we not liking the matchup? Do you not liking the upside of Wardlaw for it? What's going into the decision?
Mate, I don't have it. I don't have any Wardlaw cards at all. So, as I said, if anyone's got a Wardlaw card, then trade. Let's get a trade going. But don't have any Wardlaw cards, unfortunately. Maybe you might be able to pack something at some point later on the episode. But we'll see how we go. But she's not in my side. But I like the pick. She's the 3rd highest averaging St Kilda player this year in GameDay Squad. What's that? Just a tick under 82 points a game.
Yep.
For like Freo, obviously second half matchup for forwards. It's saying there, but I still think Wardlaw can go pretty well. So I think she'll have another solid game. And we've said it before, right? It's not like there's 20, 30 forwards to pick from. There's probably a good maybe 10 to 12 if you're stretching it with a few that have got good matchups week on week that you can pick. So, yeah.
Yeah, Wardlow's one of their players. She's just under 10 kicks per game on average for the season. You know, she's had 5 goals, so just over 1 goal a game as well. This is a player that's just, I have all the confidence in the world. And, you know, the matchup isn't screaming starter, but she's very dynamic. She's a good key forward, and she can definitely come up the ground as well and contribute there. So she just has a little bit of everything in terms of her play and the play style. And I'm just one of those players that in a forward line where I can struggle at times to pick some players, she's not one of those.
And she also gets obviously a couple of hit outs and when the ball's in the forward 50 as well. So a couple of extra bonus points there.
100%. But Strom, the number 1 ruck for the season so far, you can see the average there, 112. That's nearly an increase of 30 per game from last year. So she is just having a crazy, crazy season. Is a must start, honestly, at this point. And I think she's sort of matchup proof. I'm not really looking at any of the matchup analytics, the data when putting Strom into my lineup. She's just the number 1 ruck, in my opinion, and I'm going to continue to roll her out of my squad.
Yeah, and I think she's one of those players that defenders and forwards, you're probably not really looking to put too much salary on top of many. Maybe Kate Hawes one, there's a couple of others that you could do. Defenders, probably not really any enough that have got a ceiling that you could put on. Whereas I think Strom outside the midfielders is one that you can put maybe silver, gold, if you've got a little bit of that, a little bit extra salary to chuck on, because I think she's been very, very consistent this year. But the other last player before we get on the next game that I like, Emma O'Driscoll. In this game, St Kilda, good matchup for defenders. O'Driscoll had a ton last week in GameDay Squad, so that was good to see. She had a really bad round 1 score. I think she would have scored like 30. She was really bad. That was against the Bombers at Windy Hill, and they won comfortably, and the ball didn't spend any time down there. So I do expect St Kilda to, I think I've tipped St Kilda to win this game, I think. And I expect the ball to be down in the back line for Freo. So I think O'Driscoll will have a good game. So she's a pod in defence that probably hasn't got as much chat as some of the other options we've had this season. So I like her this week, and she was a consideration for me, but I've just got Daisy Darcy ahead of her, I think.
Yeah, she's definitely in and amongst it. But yeah, for me, just outside of that top 7 are defenders for the round. Let's get into game 5. The Bulldogs taking on the Swannies in this one. And we are thinking alike. I called you, Bales, the other night, and I told you, you know, I've got a forward that I found that is just a gem. An absolute diamond of a player. And then you went on to inform me, I reckon I know who it is. And it found out we both thought the same thing. But Cynthia Hamilton from the Swans, with a couple of injuries for the Swans this year, she's spending more time in the midfield, and we really saw her come into her own last game. Not only can she be damaging in front of goals, but just how clean she can be out of the contest and just in the middle, working alongside Gardner at times. It just, to me, really stood out. And I instantly, after that game, was like, next round, she's in my squad.
Yeah, and the matchup as well, right? It's the Dogs. I know that forwards, they're 7th and whatever, but mid's good matchup. I expect Cynthia Hamilton to have a good game. And the fact that we don't have
She'll spend time in both. That's the thing.
Yeah.
She'll be a forward at times. She'll be a mid at times, but it's not even a bad matchup for forwards. So, you know.
She's playing that she's essentially taken over the Chloe Malloy role, where Chloe Malloy would
100%.
sort of go from forward to midfield, sort of wherever she needed to be. And that's really what Cynthia Hamilton's doing. And she's, ever since obviously we don't like injuries, and especially to the star players like Chloe Malloy, but the silver lining, I think, for Sydney is that they've been able to give more midfield time to Cynthia Hamilton. And in the 2 games that she's played there, she's looked really, really good. So I think for her prospects for the rest of the year, I think are very good. So I've got her locked in along with Laura Gardner, who, again, mentioned Dogs matchup. Just got to have her in there. And I think this is a week. I see, Tom, you've got the gold in there. I've always got the All-Star one in there just because obviously the All-Stars are a bit more valuable than a gold. But yeah, I just think the matchup's way too good here. And I think Laura Gardner's in my team most weeks anyway.
This could be one of the ones where
she could be the high scoring player for the week.
Where she finally has one of those games where she just explodes in terms of fantasy points. Last round was her best by far with 141 for the season. And to say that she could be even better than that in this one with such a tasty matchup, got to get her into your midfield for this one because she started the year slow, but she's really getting into her form now. And I think she's just going to take away with some of these points heading into the rounds. Let's talk about someone we don't have, Lucy McAvoy. So at times this season, We've streamed her into our defense. At the moment, neither of us are trusting in her. Give me your thoughts, Bales, of why you've gone away from McAvoy and some other defenders you've been looking at.
Yeah, again, that it's not. It's just the fact I think defense. There's like a blanket over a good 10 defenders that could be in your lineup week on week, and this is the week I think to play Lucy McAvoy. Like Bulldogs are the number one matchup for defenders. We know how good a matchup they are, but it's just so hard when you've got two Lucas Rod, Emma Carney, Isla Sheeran, who is been back for a few games and looking really good in that midfield role. You've got Daisy Darcy. You've got Maddie Newman as well, another who's been really, really good. I mentioned O'Driscoll, who's not even in our squads. Two Lucas Rod, number one scoring defender this year. Like there's so many defenders that you could just sort of put under a blanket, and it just I partly don't know why I don't have it, because the number one matchup for defenders, you think put her in there, but yeah, Charlie Thomas, I didn't even say. Beck Webster, like there's just a lot of good defenders that I just haven't been able to fit her in, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, in terms of me, this round, we're going to come up soon, but I have a brand new defender that I'm debuting for the squad. Ooh. So she's essentially knocked McAvoy out. So in my eyes, I know you were talking about Daisy Darcy before and O'Driscoll sort of being those last options for you. For me, it's McAvoy and Daisy Darcy. Like, it's really hard to actually take her out of the squad because she really hasn't given me a good reason to.
Swan as well.
But exactly. But you know what? The defender that I have in, I think, is well deserving of the start and made the decision a little easier for me. So I will get into that one a little bit later. But how about Alice Edmonds? Great matchup. Sorry, for Rucks. I know you went Shoals. My Rucks come up as well with Wales. Surprising that no one started, or do you think it just hasn't been the year for her?
Well, yeah, I would have, if it wasn't for Matilda Schultz, I probably would have started Alice Edmonds this week. The fact that we're going to find out in 7 minutes or so. If Ali Morfitt's not named again, then I think Alice Edmonds is a great play this week. We've seen Sydney have been a great matchup so far this year, the second best matchup. And obviously that's because of Ali Morfitt not being fully fit when she was playing, and there hasn't been playing the last few weeks. So the only thing that's been the negative with Alice Edmonds this year is Georgia Borg playing, just taking off that ceiling. Like Alice Edmonds Alice Edmonds has been fine. Like she's been putting up solid scores between, let's say, 55 and 80, but she hasn't had, and I think she got like 90 plus last week. So she finally had a good game against Collingwood, which is a match I probably didn't think that she'd be scoring well in. But just Georgia Borg not being there is the thing I don't like. If for some reason Bulldogs tonight dropped Georgia Borg and Ali Morfitt wasn't playing, I think Alice Edmonds would be a lineup lot for most teams, bar mine, because I've already got Matilda Schultz locked in, and I'm not taking out Mim Strom. So, just something to watch with teams. But Alice Edmonds is another good option in the ruck this week.
Yeah, nice. That's definitely the silver lining for you and for anyone who did put Scholes in earlier this round. But
got a
for
good
me,
score.
Yeah. She had a great score. I don't think you're complaining either way, are you, Bales? Let's get into game 6. And my goodness, it was hard to get all these player cards in there. We are loaded. We spoke about it before. So this is the first of games of the doubles. So
we got
Hangers have already played this round. We've got exactly the same, just some different rarities here and there. So
yeah, just what was it? Conti silver for you, but Emma Carney silver for me. So, but sorry,
and then a platinum to All-Star for Ghana. So literally just about the same.
Yeah, apologies, mate. I interrupted you there. I was just looking at the screen and sort of just.
I
was sort of in my head. I was thinking it, but then I spoke it out in the microphone. So apologies, mate. But
hey, don't apologize. I 100% agree. Look at this. Like, this matchup has a lot on it. Now, for me, I guess the two big things that I want. Some of these players have already had some good scores, and I'm pretty happy. For example, Riddell. We just spoke about her. She's, her scores is locked as of right now. I feel like, and if she was to score more, wow. But honestly, not expecting it. Carney, 79 fantasy points. I'm taking that. O'Loughlin, 74 fantasy points. Could be a little bit better, but I'm taking it.
No goals in that as well. She handed off a couple.
Exactly.
So.
My dream scenario in this game is the two top scorers are Garner and Conti, because I would definitely love a little bit more out of these two players in terms of their score. Of course, I have an all-star Garner, so that might be contributes a little bit more as to why. But Conti as well, because I just feel like she has another level to go to. 106 fantasy points is the silver, or base 96. If she can gets around that 115, 120 mark, and then Garner can just elevate herself as well. Maybe get around that 120, 115. That would just be the cherry on top.
We need a 150, mate. We need a big score from here. I think Jazz Garner, this is the game coming up now, is the game that will be better for us. So I was watching the game last night in other formats for a fantasy. I had Jazz Garner as like captain double points and stuff and was hoping for a big game. But watching her closely, and the fact that I had the platinum in here as well, I was like, I've put a fair bit of salary into Jazz Garner. So I could have put a silver and put the other 200K on someone else. But I thought, let's try and get some extra salary. And the first quarter, she didn't look like she wanted to tackle much. She was copping attention from Lily Goss as well, copped the tag for most of the game. She didn't really look like she got out of second gear at all. Like the start of the third quarter, she got a quick sort of +7 in GameDay Squad. A lot of people refer to +6, +7 with the mark and kick. Then she kicked a goal. And I thought, here we go. This is massive. Then the whole last quarter, she rested. So the fact that she got essentially a ton in, I'd say 3 quarters without trying, I think this game against Richmond means more for North Melbourne because of Richmond being a top 4 team and being right up there. I think this is a game where Garner could go big and Riddell could go big as well. But one thing out of the players we do have, Katie Brennan, I've heard a few things in a group chat of mine that there's rumours that Katie Brennan might not be playing in this second game, which would be frustrating to maybe try and get a couple of extra points there. So I did
77 base points. Again, it's one of those scores where you're taking that. Exactly.
It's just, I think captain of Richmond, they've got North Melbourne, top of the table clash. I think they're going to try and get up. She's on 360 last night as well, talking, and she said they were her and the Tigers looking forward to the opportunity of playing against North Melbourne. So it seemed like she was playing, but who knows? We'll find out soon if she is.
We definitely will. But look, this game is just full of amazing fantasy players. We're just hoping that there's plenty of points to go around. How about you not starting Sheila? I know that was a player that over the past couple rounds, I was like, I really wanted to squeeze one into my forward. Still don't have a Sheila, by the way. So even if I wanted to, could not. Talk to me about your decision to bench her in this week when she had the double.
Yeah, so I'm glad I was actually going to mention that if you didn't say. So you're reading my mind, mate. I actually I was thinking about this for a good 10 minutes, just looking at the team and just sort of seeing Kate Sheila there. And the reason I didn't put her in there is because the players that are playing a double in the week, obviously, and for people that still sort of maybe don't know yet, but in GameDay Squad, you get the best score of the 2 games. So in game 1, let's say Ebony Marinoff scores 110, second game she goes 150, you get 150 points. You don't get the 110, you get the better score. So it's not 260 points, it's just 150. So, but we Kate Sheila and players that don't play the first game, I just think it's too risky to put them into your team, especially the fact that, like myself, I'm top 10 and trying to go for these points. And if I'm losing out, for example, if she got sick on the weekend, didn't play, that's a 0. There's no emergencies, no nothing in GameDay Squad. So you've got to be on top of your squad throughout the whole weekend. I just thought it's too risky putting in Kate Sheila in game 1, her getting locked out, and then something unforeseen happening later in the week and her not playing both games. I highly doubt it. I think she'll come in. She was just managed, but you just don't know. I just thought it was too risky at the end of the day, so I thought I'd put some other players. And Cynthia Hamilton. Wow. Cynthia Hamilton was actually the player that came in for her at that point because I'd already had Gemma Houghton in there. So, that's just probably a learning I've taken as well for GameDay Squad with these double game week players is that if they don't play the first game, don't put them in, regardless of who they are. Maybe Marinoff is probably one I'd probably take the punt on, but besides that, I think it's too risky. You might as well just put another player in.
It truly is. And then you don't really have the option, of course, with the lockout after that first game as well. But yeah, hopefully, Bales, plenty of fantasy points and, that dream scenario we spoke about comes to fruition. But we're going to go to game 7. GWS Giants taking on the West Coast Eagles. And, a lot of red in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm not.
And honestly, the matchup matrix would say, don't be starting many players unless it's our GWS mids and ruck. But we've trusted with Charlotte Thomas each. I've downgraded to the silver for this round, and that was to get my all-star Garner in. So I went out, got a silver.
There's the flex. There's the flex, mate.
Yeah, it is. Well, you never know, mate. We're coming back to that segment soon, and there could be some fireworks. There could be some magic in the air again.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I love you, Tom, but hopefully not for you. Hopefully for me. I need the luck today.
Wow.
That yeah. I like that. Wow,
You heard this.
yeah.
You heard this, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah,
But no,
mate.
the matchup there. Look at Giants. Giants are you wouldn't have thought how hard they are to score against. I know they've had some easier matchups, but still, to be the second hardest defender matchup, the hardest mid matchup, the fifth hardest ruck matchup, and the hardest forward matchup is pretty impressive on their part for the first few weeks. So that's obviously why we and it's funny if we're looking at Charlie Thomas and we're like, well, she's playing against the second hardest defender matchup, and Lucy McAvoy is playing the easiest matchup, but we've still gone for Charlie Thomas. I think just because we know what Charlie Thomas is going to do. Lucy McAvoy is a little bit like the Swiss Army knife, where she can sort of go wherever they need her to, and I think Charlie Thomas is just very consistent. So, but yeah, are you in agreement with that? Just the fact, even though it's a tough matchup for Thomas, it's just she's probably a bit like a Tilly Lucas Rogers to line up like most weeks in defence.
Yeah, exactly. Like she's just takes the kick-ins, always plays on. There's a lot of like indicators for me that would say, she's a good start. Get her into the squad. Don't really worry about the matrix. So in all honesty, if the Giants can get it forward, kick a couple points, that's going to be a good buffer of points already on top. And she's just one of those players. She knows how to get involved, and she's a little matchup proof as a defender. She was my second or third ranked highest defender in the preseason, and she wouldn't be any lower than that right now. She is an absolute superstar for West Coast, and we'll be starting her with confidence despite a lot of red matchups, as you can see there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but other than that, it feels like there's not many players, and if you do play some of the players in this game, that it's a little bit of a risk. You're definitely going with some pods. Like, who would have thought that Alice Parker last season would be a pod? Like 12 months later, talking in the 2024 with how well she was playing. Even Zali Goldsworthy, I know as a midfield now, she started off the season on fire, was red hot. You can see that average has climbed down now to 95 fantasy points. So their superstars just don't really have it clicking, at least to the level that we've come to see over the past season or two. So yeah, it's a bit of a risk. And then Ella Roberts as well. If the matchup was a little better, you might want to stream her through. But for me, just considering the numbers, it's a big avoid, and I'd be looking elsewhere for some better matchups and some higher upside with some mids. But look, this could be the week where maybe you start a Roberts, she goes off, and nearly a lot of coaches out there would have avoided. So you just never know, do you?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I do think Goldsworthy and Parker could be really good pods, especially I think this is a game that sort of I look at it and I think this is a Goldsworthy type game against West Coast. I don't see a good matchup necessarily for her. Obviously, Ibaka has been tagging for West Coast. She's gone to someone every game. So does she go to? I think she goes to Elise Parker because I think Goldsworthy can just drift forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Goldsworthy could be a solid pod if you want to go real pod. But I think there are some other better pod options this week.
Yeah.
But Olisho Dowd's another one in the ruck. Been getting it done both in the ruck and around the ball. Actually, not so much in the ruck with the hitouts, but around the ground as an extra midfielder.
Yeah.
West Coast, a great matchup. She had a tough matchup last week. Still was pretty solid against actually was it no week before last, sorry, against Gold Coast. She was still pretty solid, Olisho Dowd. So I just think that she could be a pod option if you want to go someone a bit different on your bench.
Yeah, love it, mate. Alrighty, let's move it on. Hey, let's get into the second last game of the round. And here is one of my debutantes. And also, I have an upgrade in a card here, Bales. A gold Ebony Marinoff for the first time. We have got an upgrade secured, so upgraded from a silver. And Maddie Newman, welcome to my squad. This is the player that knocked out McAvoy for me in my best 7 defenders. If you just saw the way she played last week, her speed, I made a TikTok this week and a short about her. She's just the perfect complementary player to players like Knopf, Hatcher, those inside mids who can win the ball. She just plays so well on the outside, and her speed just can burn people and leave them in the dust. So that combination for me and coming off the halfback is just the perfect mix, and I'm really excited to have Newman for the first time in my squad. So that's my new defender I brought in.
The one interesting thing from this game here is that Brisbane being the number one mid matchup and the number one forward matchup. That's very, very interesting to me, that Brisbane are giving up points to mids. I didn't think that would necessarily be the case, which is obviously is great for someone like an Ebony Marinoff. It's going to be interesting to see what Brisbane do, because we've seen that these two teams have been two of the most successful teams, or they probably are the two most successful teams in the AFL. Well, they are in the AFLW comp since its inception, playing the first grand final against each other. And there's been some great games between them. It's like chess matches. Like there's a lot of sort of matchups and stuff they do. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with each other. Does a Chelsea Randall go head to head with Ali Anderson? Does a Belle Dawes go to Ebony Marinoff? Does a Kathy Svark go to Anne Hatchard? Who's going to get the Taylor Smith matchup for the Crows in the defence? Who's going to get the Caitlin Gould matchup in the forward line? It's going to be really interesting to see some of these matchups and how they go. But obviously, we don't have Hatchard because we do expect her to get some attention against Brisbane, even though she did have a good game against Brisbane, I think, last year. Might have been she was injured in that game. No, the year before, she had a good game against Brisbane. So I guess Courtney Hodder's the only pod in this game for us, for me. She's one that I've sort of, if I did probably get a Wardlaw, I'd probably put Wardlaw in over her. It's just the fact that the Crows, they might need that pressure around the ball. So maybe Courtney Hodder could get a bit more midfield time, like we've seen in the last quarter of the last two games, and she's looked really good in there. So maybe she goes in 100%. There, gets a lot. This could be a game where Courtney Hodder gets a lot of tackles. So I probably will still keep her in there, because I wouldn't want to get someone else, put Hodder out, and then she goes nuts and has a big game. So I'll leave her in there, I think. But it's one of those players in the forward line that could pop off for a big score. So I'm hoping that's the case this week.
For sure. Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic game. I think, well, sure, a lot of other people do. Game of the round, 100%. I'm really, really looking forward to this one. On the Sunday at 3, we're going to be sitting down. It's going to be such a good week, and hopefully a lot of fantasy points to come out of it as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the last one. This is the double.
Just before we do, I'll just sort of quickly say what I remember. I'm just looking at the teams here, just a couple of sort of any interesting changes there. So Britt Bonici's back for Collingwood, if anyone was looking at playing her as an option there. Eden Zanker, we did mention before, is out injured. Then obviously Anya Tai out injured for the season, unfortunately. The Dogs game, so no changes for the Dogs. So Borg's there, and Ali Morfitt is back for Sydney. So that makes obviously the Alice Edmonds play not as good. And funny enough, Alice Edmonds is named at full forward, and Ali Morfitt is named at. Actually, Ali Morfitt's named at full forward as well. So it'll be very interesting to see who starts the ruck there for that game. But Brenna Tarrant, who's
shenanigans going on there.
Yeah. Brenna Tarrant, who is a bit of a popular forward of late, because she's been going pretty well. She's been managed, so she's not playing in this game here. And then, unfortunately for Richmond, Katie Brennan is out injured. So those rumours did come true, unfortunately. So Katie Brennan, we just get the one score from her this week there.
Yep.
And there's I don't think there's any other major changes from any of the games. No, there's not. If anyone did have Abby Mackay in there with the two games this week, she obviously went off injured last night. She's not playing in this game, so she's out.
Yeah. Expected, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So the truth, the injury, but that's the Bales injury report, man. We should get that on weekly. You just take it away. Injury report.
Well, it probably works. It works. It will live when the teams get announced, so I can sort of quickly go through it.
Yeah, nice. Well, mate, look, I brought back the tumbleweed for you. For me in this one, no one. Yeah, all my 22 players at this point would have played. I'll be sitting here just thinking, either I've stuffed up majorly by not starting some of the players in this game, or I'll be happy. But Scholes, such a fantastic start already. I know you spoke about that before. You are stoked to have gotten her in as a bit of a pod option, but you trusted the double matchup, and it's paid big dividends for you. But Houghton as well. She's had a
pretty solid game. I was very, very nervous at quarter time. Do you know what was she on at quarter time, Tom?
She hadn't touched the ball.
Yep. Statless.
She hadn't had a single disposal.
Statless. 0. And then you know what she did to start the second quarter? Gave a free kick away. So she was on -2 GameDay Squad points, which was very, very annoying for me sitting there. I thought, season's cooked. I've just put in a pod forward that's just completely gone. But no, she came good after that. I don't know. Well, I don't know what the exact score was, but it would have been in the 70s. So the fact that she's
72 fantasy points. So she put on 74 fantasy points from that
pretty
point
much
on, from when she gave away the
yeah,
free to the final siren.
which I'm pretty happy with as well. And that was a tougher matchup. I was actually more targeting this matchup here. The Carlton matchup was the one I was looking at. I know that Carlton there, number 4 for forwards there. So I'm hoping that Houghton, she hasn't looked great the first month, but this is the game that from that second quarter onwards, she started to look a little bit more like the Gemma Houghton of last year, where she was a lineup lock for us. She was in our team each week there. So I'm hoping to see her role's still a little bit different. She's playing more deeper than that second ruck and getting up the ground. So I'm hoping that she kicks on and has another good game here. And obviously Matilda Shots as well. Pretty happy with that, but I don't blame you for not having anyone. Like you look at Port, they've only got 2 players averaging over 70 game day squad points. And then Sinead Goody, who's the rookie dynasty asset for people looking there, is there as the 3rd highest. Then Carlton, you've got Maddie Gear and Keely Shearer and Abby Mackay as the top 3, but they're mids and they're averaging high 90s, but we want our mids going 110 plus. So they're sort of all stealing off each other. They're all going solid, but they're not. One of them is really putting their hand up. Maddie Gearon's been 100%. Good. Maddie Gearon's been good last few weeks. She's been putting out some good scores after a bit of a quieter start. So if you're going to go one, it'd be her, but obviously you can't anyway because all the players have been locked out. So unless you had him in there, you're locked out from this game.
Yeah, exactly. And who would have thought that we're in round 5 now? This would be the double for Houghton. And in the last game, she doubled her seasonal total for goals.
Yeah, love it.
2, she went to 4. So she just hasn't been as damaging as what we would have expected from in front of goal. But as you mentioned, some really positive signs. And maybe after this round and these double games, we might be thinking about getting her back into our forward lines more consistently and trusting in her again, because as you mentioned, she looked really good. And in a matchup where she didn't do anything for the first quarter, she was majorly productive in the next 3. So
yeah, and her
positive signs.
And her matchups as well for the rest of the year as well. Like, to be fair, Port didn't have a great start to the year, right? They played the Crows, tough matchup, and it's a showdown as well. They then played the Bulldogs, right, which is a great matchup, but it was the MCG, which is good, but it was bucketing down with rain. It was pouring the whole game. She still was solid, right? She had, 62 fantasy points, I think, or it might have been 64 because she gave away a couple of free. So it was in the mid-60s in that game, which is pretty solid in the wet there. But then she came up against Freo. Freo have shown that they've been a little bit trickier besides the mids to score this year, and she wasn't great in that game either. And then she played North Melbourne last week, and that was not only was it the hardest matchup as well, but it was also torrential rain essentially. Like there was typical Melbourne 4 seasons in one. It's her matchups do open up now. She's got obviously Carlton coming out in the final game. She's then got West Coast next week, and it's back over in West Australia where she obviously played a lot with Freo. Then she's got Collingwood, who had injury depleted, great matchup. St Kilda could be the bit of a 50-50 one. That might be a little bit trickier, but then Gold Coast, a decent matchup, and then finishes off with GWS, which I know they've been tough, but I do still expect Giants to start conceding some more points. So I think Houghton is someone that's got to be definitely now thinking for the rest of the year as a forward.
And at such a great time when, the forward lines just felt like they were thinning out. Maybe we can put our faith back into Houghton, someone that was very highly ranked in the preseason, and for good reason, because she's a fantastic player, and we did expect her to be up there in terms of
just a slow start.
Scores. Yeah, exactly right. But Bales, mate, here's your squad in its entirety. Currently, right now, you're sitting at a seasonal rank of 4th. Of course, that is with the games that have been played. But weekly of 2, you've held the second spot 2 weeks in a row, mate. How good?
Let's try and go one better, eh? So, and I know obviously I'm at 4 at the moment. I think I have had an extra couple of players than most people. So like I've already had I've already had 1, 2, the 2 defenders,
because you've had all these players and you've had the 2 players here. So a lot.
Hang on,
2,
I was actually going to count.
6,
So what do we got? So
7,
4, 7. So 7. So 7. Oh, hang on. No, we're going from screen. Hang on, just leave it there. So we got So 2 defenders.
You've had 9 players.
Yeah. Okay, I had 9 players. So 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, so 6. Yeah, 9. There you go. So, yeah, we got there in the end. But yeah, So I've had a few extra. I've had a few extra players play, but I do still think like players like Garner, Riddell, Carney, Sheeran, even a Conti probably as well. Katie Brennan, Arzelok, and they're in most teams anyway. It's just obviously Houghton and Schultz are probably the two pods that have probably given me the extra bumping space. But hopefully they are some of the highest scoring players in their positions this week.
But good performances from each in their first game as well. So either or. Very, very happy with that, Bales. For me, weekly at 7. I had a great week last week. Just fell down a little bit. And then the seasonal at 11 right now. So I think I was in 16th to start last round. So I am trending definitely in the right direction. Trying to hunt towards Bales and get in that top 5. That's the big goal for me. But, if it's top 10, then it's okay. But I'll be happy with either or. I've been having a blast doing it, and hopefully this all-star card can maybe make up some of that ground and the gap for me as the season progresses. Yeah. But Bales, it is all-stars time. So that card in the middle there, and you had a Gardner, is called an all-star card in GameDay Squad. And what that is, if you are unsure, it is some of the best performers from last season. It's a little bit special, though. It has less of a salary cap hit and more of a multiplier than it would normally have. So they're very, very good cards to have, and they're the best of the best from 2023.
Isn't it the same salary as a gold? Is that how it works?
Silver or gold?
Gold, yeah, gold. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I think gold.
Yeah, obviously, that's great. You get the extra little bit of multiplier, and it's the same salary as a gold. So, if you can get a couple in your squad, I think it's a maximum of 2 though in the classic comp. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, correct. 2 special card limit, and then it goes up as you got the competitions. But you can't use these in starter, of course. It's a bronze only competition. So, Bales. Last week, you gifted me the first pack, and you essentially handed me the rights to an all-star Ghana. What would you like to do this round?
I'll go first because we'll continue the sort of you go first and I go first, and
you don't have to, but okay.
And we'll hope that Cal's watching and he can hook me up. So that's at least a platinum, so that's nice. So I have to zoom
in for everybody.
Let's have a look. So.
Bales is locked in on this screen right now. Okay. Unfortunately not.
At least Wales Silver's not
Wales there. Bad. We just spoke about how she had a great round. Good. No. Gosh, not what we're looking for, Bales.
No, but hang on. So that was the that animation was the platinum one.
Yeah.
So that's not fair.
Must have been the wrong animation, unfortunately.
No, what it wasn't. That was the platinum. That was the platinum animation. That one happens when you've got a platinum or higher, and obviously, so
let's see.
Well, you've got the same animation as well. I'm not going to be bloody happy if it bloody something better bloody comes out here. I'll tell you that much. Can't be done back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, gosh.
Yes, so you've got silvers and golds as well. Thing. Well, actually, that first one you just got is a good one for next year. Hopefully,
very good one for next year.
Have you got a silver Bowls? Have you got a silver Bowls already?
I actually don't. Well, that is my first silver Bowls. I had a bronze, so excellent for next year. But unfortunately, the rest of the pack.
To be fair, that's not awful because Abby Mackay and Georgia Patrikios at some point could be valuable. Kiara Bowles next year will be. Well, we're hoping she's back in amongst the top scorers. That'll be extremely valuable. So I would have taken that pack. So I've been done back-to-back weeks. So yeah.
Oh, no. But Bales, mate, that's going to just about wrap us up. So you can get the All-Star packs. They're still in stores right now. But look, mate, best of luck for the competition coming up.
And I was just going to say as well, if you do want packs and as if you're a new user, if you haven't signed up to GameDay Squad yet at all and you want to sign up, then make sure you use the code @BalesDT. You get a free 3-player rare pack. And I think you can actually choose as well what sport you want that pack for as well. So when you sign up, use the code @BalesDT and you get a free pack. Like you might as well just use it. Like anything free and you can take, you definitely take it. And you might get some really valuable cards to kickstart your journey, and you can put them in the classic comp and then put your bronze in the starters and then hopefully get some good packs and build from there if you don't want to spend money. So yeah, make sure you use the code.
Use code BalesDT. When you sign up to GameDay Squad, you'll see the section there to punch in the code and get those rewards as he was talking about. But Bales, mate, that's going to do us. We're going to get ready for an awesome round of footy coming up. Bit of a longer episode, but heaps to go through. We can't wait for the round, and we'll catch all your legends next week, Thursday. at same time, same place. So any final comments, Bales?
No, don't think so. Just good luck to your Swannies, mate. Looking forward to seeing what they can do in the grand final. And I'll be, as I said, moving house tomorrow, but I'm glad that everything will just at least be set up, ready to go for Saturday, watching the grand final, the big day. That's what we all... as a Crows fan, I've ever since 2017, I haven't even been able to watch a final, the Crows, let alone a grand final. Just the days are special, and you sort of don't take them for granted when your team makes it, because you never know when they're going to make it there next. Look at some of the teams. So, no, Tom, mate, enjoy the day. Enjoy watching your Swannies go for it, and hopefully they can get revenge after their 2022 disappointment, mate. So, looking forward to it.
That's it. Best of luck.
Good luck to Lions as well. Good luck to Lions as well. I'm looking forward to it. I think both teams
you heard him.
deserve it.
No luck for the Lions. All luck for the Swans. Up the bloody Swannies. We'll catch you on your